All right, third type of transformation. So we've done reflections, we've done translations, now we're at rotations. So a rotation is a turn. It moves every point of the pre-image through a specified angle and direction. We're going to be discussing three types of rotations, 90, 180, and 270, and always about the origin. And we will be going in both the clockwise and the counterclockwise direction. Now, the most important thing with rotations is the counterclockwise. So counterclockwise means you are actually going backwards from what we're normally used to. The counterclockwise direction is the positive direction, so everything needs to be associated with that. So think, if you're going to go, if here's your quadrants, each of these is perpendicular, so they're all 90, but if this is where we start, right here. If we're going 90 degrees clockwise, well, clockwise goes this way. If we go 90 clockwise, the question is, what is that matching with counterclockwise? So if you put those two together, they make a full circle, and a full circle equals 360. So if this is 90, then going the opposite direction would be 360 minus 90, which is 270. So 90 degrees clockwise is really 270 counterclockwise, and that's the rule that you're going to have to use for that. With 180, so 180 goes like this. The thing is, though, going this way, it's also 180. So the nice part about 180 is 180 doesn't matter. Clockwise or counterclockwise, you end up with the same spot. So 180 clockwise equals 180 counterclockwise. And now if we sort of relate the first and the third, if 90 degrees clockwise was 270 counterclockwise, then 270 counterclockwise would then be equal to 90 or 270 clockwise would be equal to 90 counterclockwise. And there's three rules, just like there were for the reflections. There's three rules here. So we have, this is for 90 degrees. And I'm going to say CCW for counterclockwise. So this is what you might see it abbreviated as, CCW. This second rule right here is for 180 degrees counterclockwise. And this third rule right here is for 270 degrees counterclockwise. Okay, so for 90, if you look from one to the other, they flip places and the Y value, or the first number, changes sign. For 180, they stay in the same spot, but they both change signs. And for 270, they still flip-flop, but now the second value is what changes signs. So again, I would, as you work your way through this chapter, I would absolutely make yourself a study guide, because I do think it's definitely helpful to you. And it just helps you have everything on one piece of paper to look over so that you're ready for any assessment that comes your way. All right, so example 1 says triangle PQR has vertices P is at 1, 1, Q is at 4, 5, and R is at 5, 1. We're going to graph triangle PQR and its image after a rotation of 270 clockwise about the origin. So first of all, it says 270 clockwise. We don't want clockwise. We have to relate it to counterclockwise. So on the other side of your note sheet, it said that 270 degrees clockwise is actually 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that's what we want. So just like we've always started, we're going to make ourselves a chart. We start with P is at 1, 1, Q is at 4, 5, and R is at 5, 1. And we had said that we're doing 90 degrees counterclockwise. So that is the rule that we are looking at. So if we look at that rule on the front page of your note sheet, what that showed is that they flip locations and the first value changes sign. So the rule for 90 degrees counterclockwise was you go from XY to negative YX. So first thing I'm going to do is plot my triangle. So I have P, I have Q, and I have R. So there's my triangle. And then what I have to now figure out is, all right, what are my new coordinates that I'm going to work with here? So I'm going to take each point by itself. So again, what happens is they flip from one to the other, and the first one changes sign. So 1, 1, when you flip it, it still is 1, 1. But the only difference is the first one has to get an opposite sign to it. So instead of 1, it's going to be negative 1, 1. For Q, step 1, they flip locations. So now we have 5, 4. But now the 5 becomes a negative 5. For 5, 1, they flip. You get 1, 5. And the 1 becomes negative. And that's going to give you 2 new points to now work with. And then you're going to do that. So tonight you're not going to have to graph anything. We're just practicing the graphing right now. You're just going to be making your maps and your charts tonight. All right, for this second one here, so we have parallelograms, so we got 4 points. We're graphing it after an image of 180 clockwise. So the nice part is, again, about 180, so clockwise and counterclockwise, nothing's going to be impacted there. It's only the 90 and the 270 that gets affected. All right, so step 1, let's make our chart, and we're going to graph our points. So again, at any point, pause the video just so that you're able to keep up and graph everything, and I want it to match what I have. All right, so we're saying the rule is 180 degrees counterclockwise. So the rule says XY becomes negative X, negative Y. So they do not flip-flop locations. All they do is they change sign. So 2, 1 becomes negative 2, negative 1. 7, 1 becomes negative 7, negative 1. 6, negative 3 becomes negative 6, positive 3. 1, negative 3 becomes negative 1, positive 3. So all you were doing is you go to every single point and you change the sign. So we have F prime, we have G prime, we have H prime, and we have J prime. Okay, but again, the most important thing tonight, you are only going